Hi, I'm Alex, 34, and last Tuesday my entire life went sideways because my brother decided parenting was optional and I was apparently his free on-call childcare service. It started with a text, not even a full text. Just, busy, need you to watch the kids tonight. No hello, no details, no explanation, just an order dropped into my phone like a grenade. I replied, as any sane adult would. I can't, Mark, I have a deadline, ask literally anyone else. He left me on read. That should have been the end of it. I turned off my phone, made coffee, and dove into the quarterly financial report my boss wanted by morning. I even congratulated myself for setting boundaries like a real, emotionally healthy adult. But Mark has the emotional maturity of a damp paper towel. Around 7:40 p.m., my apartment intercom buzzed. I assumed it was the food delivery I forgot I ordered. I pressed the button and said, "Yeah, bring it up." 30 seconds later, there was frantic knocking. Not tapping, not polite knocking. Full on. FBI, open up! I opened the door, and the universe gave me a stroke. Not food, not a neighbor, not even Mark. It was a taxi driver. A very angry taxi driver. Behind him stood my brother's 4 kids, all under the age of 8, bundled in jackets, backpacks hanging off them like parachutes. You Alex? He asked. Yeah? He thrust a crumpled receipt at my chest. Your brother said you'd pay, and that you were expecting them. I was absolutely not expecting them. I was expecting noodles and Netflix and maybe a mild existential crisis. Not 4 confused children blinking up at me like abandoned baby owls. I looked past the cabbie. No sign of Mark's car, no goodbye, no explanation, just a taxi pulling away with the urgency of someone fleeing a crime scene. My oldest niece, Lily, lifted her backpack and said, "Daddy said you'd have snacks?" Of course he did. I stared at the kids, then at the report I had to finish in 5 hours, then back at the kids. This man seriously put his children in a taxi and shipped them to me like last-minute Amazon returns. The taxi driver cleared his throat loudly. That'll be $87.50 cash. I laughed, not because it was funny, because that was the moment I realized something was very, very wrong, and it wasn't just Mark being Mark. Because as the kids stepped inside, the youngest, 3-year-old Max, lifted his hands to be picked up, and that's when I noticed it. His little jacket sleeve was streaked with something dark, not mud, not chocolate, something that made my stomach drop so violently I almost hit the floor. Hey, buddy, I said gently, kneeling. What happened to your arm? Max lifted it, and I realized it wasn't just his arm. It was his whole sleeve. It was soaked in dried blood. I didn't even have time to process, because that's when Lily whispered, barely audible, "Uncle Alex, something happened at home." I froze, not the, "oh wow, awkward" kind of freeze. The full body, brain shutting down, soul leaving the building kind of freeze. Because kids don't just say things like, "something happened at home," with dried blood on their sleeves unless the universe is about to hand you a nightmare. I swallowed hard, keeping my voice steady. "Lily, what do you mean something happened?" She looked at her younger siblings first, the way a parent does, not an 8-year-old. Her bottom lip trembled. And suddenly the taxi ride, the dumping, the nonsense text, it all clicked. Mark wasn't just being irresponsible. He was hiding. "Come in," I said quickly, ushering them inside and locking the door behind us. My hands were shaking. "Shoes off, backpacks by the couch. Max, let me see your arm." I grabbed my first aid kit from under the sink while their little voices echoed behind me. "Is Uncle Alex mad?" "No, he's not mad." "Does he have snacks?" "Sure, Max, not now." "Where's Daddy?" That last one hit like a punch. I knelt in front of Max and gently rolled up his sleeve. The dried blood cracked as the fabric moved. I expected a scraped elbow, maybe a cut. What I found instead made my chest tighten. A deep, swollen welt ran up his forearm, already purple, already stiff, not a wound from falling, not from playing. This was a grab mark, a hard one, finger-shaped bruising. Small enough to be from another adult hand. I looked up at Lily. "Who did this?" She didn't answer. She just stared at the floor. That silence told me more than any words. My brother, the man who used to push me on swings, who taught me how to do skateboard tricks, who cried at the birth of his first kid, would never hurt his son. At least, that's what I used to believe. "Did Dad?" "No." Lily snapped her head up fast, too fast. "No, Daddy didn't. It was..." She bit her lip so hard it almost bled. "It wasn't Daddy." Before I could push, my phone lit up. One new message from Mark. My breath caught. Finally, I opened it, expecting an apology or an explanation. Instead, I read the shortest, most deranged thing my brother has ever sent me. Don't let them near the windows, keep them inside, I'll explain everything soon. That was bad enough, but then another message appeared immediately after. If anyone knocks, do not open the door. I stared at the screen, then at the children, then at the blood on my carpet, and I realized this wasn't babysitting. This was a warning. Something had happened in that house. Something serious. Something dangerous. And whatever it wasn't over. I didn't breathe for a full 5 seconds. My brother wasn't dramatic, he wasn't cryptic. He wasn't the type to send weird thriller movie instructions about windows and doors. So if he was texting me like this, something had gone terribly, monumentally wrong. I locked my phone, then immediately unlocked it again because panic makes you do useless things. I reread the messages 3 more times just to confirm I wasn't hallucinating. Don't let them near the windows. Don't open the door. My apartment instantly felt too bright, too exposed. I closed the blinds so fast one of them snapped off its track. The kids flinched. Uncle Alex? Lily whispered. Are we in trouble? No, I said automatically, kneeling down to her level. You're safe here, all of you. I said it like I believed it. I absolutely did not believe it. Max crawled into my lap, which would have been adorable if it weren't for the giant bruise on his arm pressing against me. His tiny fingers curled into my shirt like he was holding on for dear life. I needed answers, and the kids weren't talking. Either they didn't know, or they were scared to say it out loud. I took a slow breath. Lily, can you tell me what happened? She looked at her siblings again, then she leaned in closer. It wasn't Daddy, she repeated. It was her. Her? My stomach dropped. Because there was only one, her, that made sense. Do you mean, your mom? Lily's silence was confirmation enough. My brother's wife, my sister-in-law, was always intense, sharp-tongued, unpredictable, the type who could start a fight with a toaster. Mark used to joke she could weaponize a paper napkin if she felt insulted. But hurting her own kid? No, absolutely not. Except Lily wouldn't look me in the eyes. Except Max's bruise was too big for a child's hand. Except it explained everything about Mark's panic. I reached for my phone again. I typed, Alex, what the hell happened? Where are you? Call me now. Instead of replying, Mark began typing, then stopped, then typing again, then stopped. When a message finally came through, it wasn't a call. It wasn't even a complete explanation, just this. I'm sorry, she lost it, she's not herself, please keep them safe, I'm trying to fix this. Lost it? Not herself? What did that even mean? Before I could respond, there was a sound that made my blood run ice cold. A knock, not the gentle kind. A sharp, deliberate knock. 0.3 beats. Pause. 0.3 beats again. Lily's face strained of color. Max buried his head into my shirt. The twins clung to each other. They all knew that knock. I stood. My heart pounded so hard it hurt. Whoever was on the other side of the door didn't knock like a neighbor or a delivery guy. They knocked like someone who already knew. I was inside. Like someone who wasn't going away. The knock came again, harder this time. Then a voice. A woman's voice. Soft, shaky, but unmistakably familiar. Alex? Open the door, I know the kids are in there. It was my sister-in-law. Except her tone wasn't pleading. It was cold, too calm, too controlled. And it hit me then that Mark wasn't being paranoid. He was warning me. Because whatever had happened in their home, she wasn't here to fix anything. She was here to finish it. I didn't move. Not because I was brave, but because every cell in my body seemed to simultaneously file for early retirement. My legs refused to cooperate, my lungs forgot their job description, and my brain just started playing white noise. Alex, she repeated through the door, her voice smooth as glass. I just want to talk. Yeah, and I just wanted a quiet Tuesday. But look how that turned out. I forced myself to step closer, just enough to see her shadow under the door. The kids shrank behind the couch like they were trying to merge with the upholstery. Lily whispered, Don't open it. Even the twins nodded, wide-eyed and shaking. I placed a finger to my lips. They stayed silent. Alex, she said again, softer now. The kids misunderstood. Tell them to come out, we're all going home. My pulse kicked up so hard it made the floor vibrate. She was trying to sound gentle, but her tone was wrong, too flat, too forced, like she wasn't talking to me. She was talking at me. I took one more step toward the door, close enough to see her shoes through the crack. Then I reached over and clicked the deadbolt into place, loud enough that she heard. The hallway fell silent. Then came the laugh. A small, breathy laugh I'd never heard from her before. Not amused. Not angry. Just wrong. Alex. She murmured. You're making this harder than it needs to be. The kids whimpered behind me. I clenched my jaw and raised my voice just enough to be heard. Go away, the kids stay with me tonight. Silence again. Then she said something that froze my blood right where it was. Oh, sweetheart, they didn't tell you the truth, did they? I forced myself not to react, not to take the bait. She leaned closer, her shadow pressed right against the bottom of the door. You think they're scared of me? Alex, they're scared because of what they saw your brother do. Lily gasped so sharply I turned around. She was pale, not confused pale, horrified pale. I mouthed, Is she lying? Lily shook her head violently. And that told me everything I needed to know. I stepped even farther from the door. If she was willing to weaponize lies like that, we weren't dealing with a meltdown or stress or exhaustion. This was something much darker. My phone buzzed again. Mark. Don't talk to her, don't believe anything she says, I'm almost there. Almost here. I didn't get to ask him what that meant because at that exact moment, something slammed into my door so hard the frame shuddered. Max screamed. The twins cried. Lily covered her ears. Another hit harder. My sister-in-law didn't sound calm anymore. Open the door! She pounded again, shaking the entire hallway. And then, just as I grabbed my phone to dial 911, as the kids sobbed behind me, as she threw her full weight against the wood, the pounding stopped. Her shadow vanished. Silence. I didn't trust it. Either did Lily, who was staring at the door with a kind of terror I'd never seen on a child's face. I slowly edged us all back toward the kitchen. And then, a key slid into my lock. Someone was unlocking my door. The sound of a key sliding into my lock hit me like a punch to the chest. I didn't breathe. The kids didn't breathe. Even the apartment seemed to freeze. Because there were only 3 people on earth who had a key to my place, me. My landlord, and Mark, and I knew damn well my landlord wasn't here at 8:15 p.m., trying to break in while a deranged woman was screaming in the hallway, which meant it was either A. Mark, B. someone who stole his key, C. something much worse than either of those. The lock clicked once, twice, then slowly began to turn. Everyone behind me, I whispered. Lily grabbed the twins and pulled them behind the kitchen island. Max climbed onto my hip, shaking so hard I had to tighten my grip so he wouldn't slip. The lock finished turning. The doorknob twisted. Someone on the other side pushed. Just an inch. Then another. My heart hammered so violently it felt like it was trying to escape through my ribs. I grabbed the heaviest thing within reach. A cast iron skillet from the stovetop, not exactly a weapon, but big enough to make someone rethink their life choices. The door opened halfway. Then a voice, familiar, strained, panicked, whispered, Alex, it's me, don't hit me. It was Mark. I almost dropped the skillet from relief, but I didn't lower it yet. Not until I saw his face. He slipped inside and shut the door behind him fast, twisting the deadbolt with shaking hands. His eyes were wild, bloodshot, frantic, terrified, and then I saw a long, thin cut running across his cheekbone. Jesus, Mark! I whispered. What happened? He didn't answer. Instead, he sprinted straight to the kitchen island and grabbed Lily, crushing her into his chest, then the twins, then Max. The kids sobbed into him, clinging like he was the last safe person in the world. Mark kissed the tops of their heads, whispering, I'm sorry, I'm so sorry. Over and over until his voice cracked. I stood there gripping the skillet, adrenaline still roaring through me. Mark, I said, forcing calm into my voice. You need to tell me what's going on right now. He looked at me, and the expression on his face did something cold and heavy to my stomach. It wasn't annoyance or guilt or fear of getting in trouble. It was fear of someone else. She knows where you live, he whispered. She followed the taxi here. I tried to stop her, but... He swallowed, voice trembling. She's not herself. Something's wrong with her. I've never seen her like this. I lowered the skillet slightly. What do you mean, not herself? He ran a hand through his hair, pacing with the desperation of someone standing on a cliff edge. She snapped, he said. Completely. It started with Max's toy. He spilled juice on the floor and she... He stopped, breath shaking. She grabbed him too hard, I yelled. She turned on me, and then... He trailed off. And then she tried to hurt Max? I asked quietly. No, he said, and for a moment I felt a tiny flare of hope. Then he continued. She tried to hurt me. My heart sank. Alex, she picked up the lamp, swung it at my head. The kids saw everything. I grabbed them and ran. I didn't even have my wallet. I shoved them into the taxi and told the driver to take them here. But why did she come here? I asked. Mark's eyes darkened. Because she thinks I told you something. She thinks I'm planning to take the kids away permanently. She's convinced you're helping me. A chill rippled through my bones. Are you? I asked. He stared at me. I don't know, he whispered. But after tonight, maybe I should. Before I could respond, there was a sound that made both of us snap our heads toward the front door. Someone was trying the lock, not gently, frantically. Then her voice, muffled but shaking with fury, cut through the wood. Mark, open this door now. The kids whimpered. Mark grabbed my arm. She's not going to leave, he whispered. And if we don't do something, she'll break that door down. My blood ran ice cold. Call the police, I said. I can't. Why not? She took my phone. I didn't even get the chance to grab mine, because that's when the pounding started, hard enough that the entire apartment shook, and she screamed one sentence I will never forget for the rest of my life. If you don't open this door right now, I swear I will make him open it for me. Him. She didn't mean Mark. She meant Max. I didn't think. My body moved before my brain caught up. I shoved the kids farther behind the kitchen island and stepped between the door and my family like I was preparing to take a bullet. Mark stood beside me, breath ragged, eyes wide, every muscle in his body pulled tight like stretched wire. Another slam rattled the hinges. Then her voice, shaking, furious, unhinged, tore through the door again. Mark! Open this door or I'm taking Max back myself. Max let out a tiny, terrified squeak. Lily pulled him into her arms, shielding him with her small body. I'd known my sister-in-law for 10 years, we'd argued at holidays, exchanged awkward birthday gifts, survived dozens of tense family dinners. She'd always been unpredictable, jealous, defensive, petty, but cruel, never like this, not until tonight. Mark grabbed my arm, his voice a broken whisper. She doesn't mean it, she's just upset. She loves the kids, she would never actually. Mark! I said sharply. Your son is bruised elbow to shoulder. Someone did that, someone in that house. He flinched. He didn't deny it. Another slam. Harder, angrier, desperate. The door frame groaned. I whispered. Mark, we need to call the police. He dragged both hands through his hair, pacing in a tight circle. I can't, he muttered. If CPS gets involved, I could lose custody too. We'll lose everything. She'll spin it, she always spins it. Dude, I said. This is not spin territory, this is felony territory. But Mark wasn't hearing me. Panic had taken over. He looked like a trapped animal, staring at the door as if it might swallow him whole. Then the pounding stopped. Silence. That sound, silence, was worse. Much, much worse. When she spoke again, her voice was calm, too calm, terrifyingly calm. Alex, she said through the door. I know you don't want to be involved in this. I know you're trying to do the right thing, but you're making it worse. I didn't respond. She continued, tone sugar-sweet. You don't understand what happened tonight, Mark. Left out a few important details. Then she lowered her voice. Let me in, I'll explain everything. Her manipulative tone made my stomach twist. She was trying to get me to open the door. She thought I was the weak link. And okay, yes, normally I avoid conflict like it's a contagious disease. But tonight, something in me had snapped. No, I said firmly. Leave. There was a long pause. Then she said something that turned my blood to ice. Mark didn't tell you what he did to me, did he? I shot Mark a look. He shook his head hard. She's lying, he whispered. Alex, she's lying, do not listen to her. But then she said, ask him why he's bleeding. I froze, slowly. I turned. That cut across Mark's cheek? The one I assumed came from her swinging the lamp? It wasn't clean. And now that I looked closer, it wasn't shaped like AHIT. It was shaped like a scratch, like fingers. I felt the floor tilt beneath me. Mark, I said slowly. What did happen? He opened his mouth, closed it, opened it again, and before he could get a single word out, something hit the window. Hard. The kids screamed. Mark lunged toward the curtains just as another impact cracked the glass. Not a fist. Not a hand. Something metal. She wasn't trying to get iron anymore. She was trying to break iron. Mark pulled back the curtain, and that's when I saw her for the first time that night. My sister-in-law. Hair wild. Eyes glassy. A deep gash across her forehead. Blood down her shirt. Barefoot. Holding a hammer. She lifted it again, and slammed it into the window. The glass spiderwebbed instantly. Mark stumbled backward. Oh God, he whispered. She's gone, she's actually gone. I grabbed my phone with shaking hands. I didn't care about his fears of CPS. Or custody battles. Or who did what first. I dialed 911. But I didn't get the chance to hit call. Because that's when the window exploded inward, and she climbed through the shards. She didn't enter like a person breaking in. She crawled through the shattered window, hands and knees dragging over glass. Like pain didn't register anymore. Her hair hung wild, her face streaked with blood, her eyes glassy and wrong in a way that made every instinct in my body lock up. The hammer hit my kitchen floor with a metallic clang. Behind me, the kids whimpered. Mark went pale, pressing himself between them and her. She stood, one barefoot crunching on shards. See? She said softly. Why did you make me do that? I just want my babies. Stop right there, I said, skillet in hand. Police are coming. She tilted her head, smiling too calmly. No, they're not. I glanced at my phone. The screen was frozen, unresponsive. She must have done something earlier when she grabbed Mark's phone. Mark stepped forward, voice breaking. Please stop, the kids are scared. They're scared because of what you did. She snapped. Tell him, Mark, tell him why you're bleeding. I looked at him, the scratch on his cheek suddenly too suspicious. Mark! He opened his mouth to answer, but a loud crack cut him off. She lifted the hammer again and slammed it into the remaining corner of the window frame, the sound sharp enough to make Max scream. She turned back toward us, wild and trembling. You took them from me, now I'm taking them back. She lunged, and for once in my life, I didn't hesitate. I swung the skillet, connecting with her wrist. The hammer skidded across the tile. She screamed and rushed me, nails catching my cheek, knocking the skillet from my hands. Mark grabbed her from behind. They struggled, crashing into the counter. The kids bolted down the hallway at my shout. Bathroom! Go! She twisted violently, then suddenly went still. Her knees gave out. She collapsed to the floor, barely breathing, eyes half open like she wasn't fully conscious. Mark fell beside her, shaking. Oh God, she took something she wasn't supposed to. Before he could finish, the front door burst open. Police flooded in with guns raised, and the entire night finally broke open around us. Police poured into the apartment in a blur of shouting and boots. Hands up! Mark and I raised ours instantly. My sister-in-law lay on the floor, barely conscious but breathing. EMTs checked her quickly, then lifted her onto a stretcher. She's overdosed, one said. She needs to be monitored, but she should pull through. The kids peeked out from the hallway, pale, shaking. A female officer knelt to their level and guided them gently to the couch. You're all safe now, she told them, and for the first time that night, the tension in my chest loosened. Detectives separated us for statements. Mark looked hollow. I knew she was unraveling, he said quietly. I kept thinking I could handle it, keep the kids out of it. I was wrong. Another detective approached me. Mr. Carter, until we sort this out, the children stay with you tonight. CPS will follow up in the morning. I nodded immediately. There was no scenario where I'd let them leave my sight. When the officers finally cleared out, I taped a blanket over the shattered window and joined the kids on the couch. Lily leaned into me, exhausted. Uncle Alex, it's really over now. I tightened my arm around her. Yes, you're safe here. Across the room, Mark sat at my kitchen table, staring at nothing. I thought I could fix it alone, he murmured. I looked at him. The cuts, the shaking hands, the fear. No one fixes something like this alone, I said. The apartment went quiet. The kids drifted off one by one, curled around me, and that's how the night ended. Glass on the floor, cold air through the broken window, but the kids finally safe.